What? Whoa! Check it out, the cat. Lucy, what are you doing? Hi. Alright. Good to see ya. Everybody would have been stoked with a kickoff to the morning with a cameo from you, but I don't even think anyone's here yet. I just logged on. You can stick around if you'd like. Oh, it's just me and you, though. Oh, nope, you're bailing? All right, I get it. I get it. Guys, we are early, and I apologize for that. But the reason we're early is because, well, there's a number of reasons, and I guess I'll talk more about it once people start logging in here. But we usually do this at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern. I had to push it back today because of some stuff, because of the holiday week. Because I'm getting ready to leave LA for a little bit for the Thanksgiving holiday. I'll explain all this, but hopefully it doesn't screw up all the flow of the show, and we still get some folks coming in here. But I know that the time is different, and I don't know if anyone, you guys missed it. Lucy just jumped on the desk to start. Even Lucy knows something's up. Lucy's like, "What's going on? The show's not supposed to start yet. I got it. You screwed this up. I'm jumping on the desk." Hi, Ashley. How are you? Good morning. Thank you for being early. We are early today. This is not our normally scheduled time. But because of the holiday week and my holiday travel, I had to alter the time today in order to have an episode. Because this is our only episode for the week, and I didn't want to miss it. So good to see you. Thanks for being here. And we'll start once we get some more folks in here. Maybe we'll start at a little less than 30. Usually I wait until about 30, but that's when we're starting at our normal time. Since we're not starting at our normal time, maybe I'll just like move forward and go at about 20 or so. Maybe I'll do that. Start a little earlier because I didn't want to miss today's episode. You get it. And I know people requested, it is Music Monday, people requested the Henry Rollins story. I will be telling it. That's what will be happening today. What's up, David? Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being early. What's up? Oh, great. I fucked up the tweet. All right. No, I didn't fuck up the tweet. 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 Pacific. Yeah. No, the tweet's right. 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. You had me scared there for a second, Tim. But, yeah. What's up, Jimmy? Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being early, guys. I will explain once everyone's here why I had to be early. What's up, Alaska? Time doesn't exist anyway, VS Jeffrey points out. All right, so we got some people that were able to show up early. I appreciate it very much. I had to switch the time today. You gave Eastern your percent. You know, I started doing that a little bit ago, Tim. Someone recommended it, and it made a little bit of sense to me, so I started doing it. I list Eastern first and then Pacific because more people are in Eastern than Pacific. So even though I'm a Pacific dude, I'm in California. But, yeah. Allie, you were able to make it. Good to see you. God damn, that was some good Tex-Mex we have. Allie was at the show in Austin. Afterwards, we all went to this bar where I had some of the best Tex-Mex food I ever had in my life. I know I was a little buzzed. Maybe that enhanced my enjoyment of the Tex-Mex food. But I was really blown away by it. What's up, Edwin? What's up, Sanity? I'm sorry that you didn't get a notification. That's some bullshit. But thank you for finding your way here anyway, especially since we have deviated from our normal time just for today. Steve, what's up, my man? Good to see you. You missed some really good Tex-Mex. Steve was at the show, too. He didn't make it to the bar after. Damn, those tacos. God, now I'm thinking about them and I'm hungry. Yeah. These folks have no idea who you speak of when you use IRL names. Hoot hoot. Yeah. Well, Steve is just Steve. Gonna get 30 easy. We'll see. I'm gonna jump in. We'll start a little earlier if we have to, because I did have to start the show earlier today, so I guess that kind of that changes the metrics a bit. Maybe when we get 20, I'll start instead of 30. Hoot Hoot confirms the nachos were freaking epic. What's up, Watson? Thanks for being here, buddy. I hope you're gonna make it to my my album release show. That's on November 29th, and there's free parking and free cake. Let me know if you can make it, Watson, so I can make sure I throw you on the guest list. But I'm really excited about that one. I'll do housekeeping at the end, of course. But whenever I see some of my local LA folk, I mentioned the album release show. I'm going to tell my LA friends to be there. Tell them to be there. All right. You know what? We're at 20. Let's go ahead and get started a little earlier today because I had to push back the time, and I'll explain why. First of all, welcome to Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. I am Ron Placone, your host. What does that mean? That means you guys send me ideas, and that's how we build the show. You guys send me articles, and then I talk about it, and that's how we build the show. I'm seeing everything for the first time. That's exciting. This is the chaos. This is awesome. We're a little bit early today. Why are we early? Okay, so I am getting ready to leave town tomorrow for the holiday week. I'm going to my hometown of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which, by the way, Friday, November 23rd, I'm doing a show in Pittsburgh. Tickets still available, but they're going fast. Grab them. I can't wait to see you in my hometown, Pittsburgh. But anyway, so I'm leaving tomorrow. Had a lot to do today. Had a few things pop up that I couldn't really alter the times on. But I didn't want to cancel today's show because this is going to be our only show for the holiday week. The rest of the week, I am going to be in Pittsburgh visiting family, doing the Thanksgiving thing. So this is our last show for the week. Clips will be coming out like normal. There will be plenty of clips while I'm on vacation. But as far as streams go, this is our only one for the week. So I didn't want to miss it, so I just figured, well, screw it. I'll just alter the time a bit. We'll start a half hour earlier, and we'll still do the show today. This is a special time due to the holiday week and due to the hurdles that exist because of the holiday week. This will not be a regular thing. We typically start at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern. That's when we always start. We only deviate from that in special situations. This is a special situation, so that's why we're a half hour earlier. And we got to 30 anyway, so now we would officially begin, so we're here. But thank you guys for being early. This isn't a typical thing. This will not be a regular thing. We will always start at 1 p.m. and 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So, yeah, just so you guys know. So, first of all, it's Music Monday, and I told you guys at the end of the week that I would be I would tell the Henry Rollins story for Music Monday. So well, some of you guys are like, "Hey, Ron, is this going to be a regular thing?" All right. So, what's going on? What happened there? So last week I went to Austin, Texas. Had a wonderful time, by the way. Shout out, some of you guys in the chat were there. Shout out to you. Thanks for being here, and for being there. Amazing Tex-Mex food. And on my way to Austin, I was in the Burbank airport, and I'm in line. My fiance came along with me because, we knew it was a cool weekend in Austin. The East Walk was going on. That's why we were doing the event. So she came along. She was like, "That sounds fun. I want to tag along." So me and my fiance are in line, and Henry Rollins walks into the airport, and he's just standing in line. And I go, "That's Henry Rollins." And she looks back, and she goes, "Maybe he's going to Austin too." And he totally heard her and looked up and kind of like made eye contact with the two of us. And then my fiance was like, "Oh shit," like play it cool. And Henry Rollins has said on a number of podcasts that he is just sort of a regular dude when it comes to flying. He does not fly first class. He just can't justify spending that kind of money, even though he can afford it. He just says it's a stupid way to spend my money. I don't fly first class. I don't see the point in it. And based on my experience, dude's telling the truth. He was just waiting in line in coach, just like everybody else. And he was just a little bit behind me in line. So I'm thinking, man, I got to say something. I've never met Henry Rollins in person. We've emailed back and forth a couple times. And I've emailed with him directly, and then other people have emailed him on my behalf. We have tried to get him on Aggressive Progressives when I've been guest hosting. He hasn't been able to do it. I've also emailed him about doing this show. You know, he has responded, but he has not been able to do it. But, you know, he said that hopefully in the future. So, fingers crossed, it'll eventually be a thing he does. But so I was like, well, I got to just say hello, right? And so I get through security, and I do the TSA pre-check thing. That's something I do. And my fiance does it too, but somehow something got screwed up, and I got it, but she didn't. So I get through security way before her, and I had to wait for her. So I'm waiting for her, and she gets through, and shortly after she gets through, Henry Rollins gets through. I guess Henry Rollins doesn't do TSA pre-check either, because he wasn't in the pre-check line either. But I do TSA. I'll tell you what, I do global entry. It was so worth it. So worth it. It ends up being about $20 a year. If you fly regularly, it is beyond worth it. I highly recommend it. My interview was very weird. You do this interview, and they just like they just distract you while they're entering your information. Like, that's all they do. My entire interview was just this guy like, oh, so you're a comedian? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, you know, where do you perform? And I'm like, is this like some kind of weird interrogation? And I was freaking nervous. Turns out the dude was just making conversation while he was entering my information. It's actually a pretty laid-back process getting TSA pre-check / global entry. Anyway. So I do that. So I get through, and shortly after my fiance gets through, Henry Rollins gets through, and he, he's putting his belt on, whatever, and I'm like, I gotta say, yeah. So I just stop him, and I go, hey, Henry, I don't want to bother you. I know you're traveling. Right away, stupid thing to say. Right, like, what? I know you're traveling. As if he was going to be like, oh, how do you know I just don't love to peruse the restaurants at the Burbank airport? This is actually where you can get the finest turkey croissant. I know you're traveling. What? Oh, wow, you must be, let me guess, you're an astrophysicist fan of mine. Is that what you do for, you know I'm traveling. You're a frickin' genius. So right away, strike one out of the gate. But I'm like, Henry, I don't mean to bother you. I know you're traveling. Because I'm a genius. You're at an airport going through security. So am I. Hey, you know what? Gonna go out on a limb, say we're both traveling. Huh? I'm a frickin' scientist, Rollins. But that was what I said, because I'm an idiot. I go, Henry, I don't mean to bother you. I know you're traveling. This is actually just a hobby of mine. I enjoy... This is an exercise I do. There's actually dumbbells at the end waiting for me. I go through airport security to get my temper up, and then I lift weights until I'm not angry anymore. It's a workout that I've coined. I haven't named it yet, but that's actually what I'm here for. I'm, in fact, not traveling, Ron. But I go, yeah, I know you're traveling. And I go, but I'm a big fan. And, I'm a big fan. And then she shook my hand, and then he goes, thanks, waves and just bounces. And then I'm standing there, and I turn to my fiance, and I go, that's pretty lame. And she goes, yeah. Like, she didn't even like try to be like, what, that was fine. You just said hello. You didn't want to bother him. She just goes, yeah, no, that was pretty weak. Like, it was almost like he was waiting for me to say something more. And I was just like, I don't want to bother, big fan. All right. And that was... And then, so the reason I stopped him there was because I don't know if I'm going to see him again, right? It's an airport. Now, this was the Burbank airport. And for anyone that's never been to the Burbank airport, which I'd imagine most of you haven't, but it is way smaller than LAX. It is like 8 gates. It is way smaller than LAX. And it is also way closer to where I live. If I could afford to use the Burbank airport, I would all the time. See, here's the deal with the Burbank airport. Even though it's a great airport compared to LAX, it's about 8 gates. It's amazing. And everybody at the Burbank airport is happy. You know why they're happy? Because they're not at LAX. Everybody at the Burbank, even the employees. Like, whenever, like, the employees are just happy when you meet them. Like the TSA people are just, like, happy. And it's because they're like, I don't work at LAX. I'd imagine you have to, like, in a lot of cases, you have to work at LAX, and then after you've paid your dues, they transfer you to Burbank. I don't know that for sure. I'm speculating. I don't know. But it's like everyone just might as well be like, yeah, we're not at LAX. We're fucking really happy. Everybody's just, the people flying are happy. Everybody's happy. Henry Rollins was happy. Everyone super happy. Because it's a small-ass airport. So anyway, but still, I didn't know where Henry was going. I didn't know if I've never met the guy in person before. And I didn't want to talk about my, like, hey man, we've actually emailed back and forth. You have politely declined multiple requests involving me. I didn't want to do that. So instead I just said hello. And then I just wanted to drop it. But then Henry was on the same flight as me. So, like, 5 minutes later, we're just sitting in the same gate as each other. Just sitting there. And he's like a couple seats down from me. And I can't say, I should have just been like, hey man, I know I guess I lied to you. I said I didn't mean to bother you, but dude, since we're both just sitting here waiting for a flight, would you mind a picture? But I felt weird doing it. I was like, I just said I don't want to bother you. So I don't want to, like, now I'm a hypocrite if I go and talk. So I just didn't talk to him again. And that's... He's like, I wonder if that kid still realizes I'm traveling. I wonder if he knows that. I should ask him. Hey man, are you still on the scene here? Hey Sherlock, am I still traveling? Are you gonna? I bet you think I'm gonna get on the same plane as you. Are you gonna get on? That's what I'm doing. We're waiting to get on the same plane. He could have just taunted me, and it would have been pretty funny. You would be like, hey man, am I still traveling? Ron, do you think I quit traveling? What do you think? You're the detective, not me. I'm just the dude whose books you read. But, oh, and this is funny. Zachary said, Henry's getting off the plane one stop before you. Zachary, you're actually right, because this was a Southwest flight, so there were multiple stops, and Henry did get off the stop before Austin was Phoenix, so he got off at Phoenix. I don't know if he was touring there. I don't know. I don't know, but he got off at Phoenix. I didn't get off until Austin because my destination was Austin. Maybe he had a connection in Phoenix that was elsewhere, but he actually did. Jimmy Stone says, I like that Ron is high energy and I'm low energy. If we were in a place together, I wouldn't have to say shit or socialize. Yeah, I don't know. I should have talked to him. I mean, I didn't want to, like, just start spouting off my resume, in front of the guy. Like, I didn't want to be like, so there's been a couple emails, and you actually, aggressive, progressive, and get your news on with Ron. That was me inquiring if you could be part of it, blah, 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 blah. But, I didn't want to do that, so, but I guess if we would have started a conversation, and he was like, hey, man, so who are you? I could have said, but I didn't take that route. And he was just sitting on his phone, maybe he would have liked it if a fan would have talked to him. And you know what's craziest of all? I was this close to wearing my State of Alert t-shirt that day just randomly. I was in a Clash t-shirt, so I'm sure it didn't shock him. Like, I was wearing a pleather jacket and a Clash t-shirt. And yes, it is pleather. It is not real leather. I care. But yeah, I was wearing that and a Clash t-shirt. So I'm sure he's like, well, yeah, it doesn't surprise me. That dude's a fan. But anyway, so that's the Henry Rollins story. And I knew he was traveling, guys, because I'm a genius. Andy says, now you really need to get him on the show. You already have the anecdote icebreaker. I will. I'm going to try again. You got to space it out. When you request and somebody can't do it, and the reason he couldn't do it was because he had a big tour going on. So I will reach out again. We do have some mutual friends. So yeah, hopefully I'll get to have him on and I'll tell him this story. And I'll be like, dude, that was just so... But there are a lot of things I'd like to talk to him about. Because, I will say this, and I think I've said this before, but... I don't have the world's greatest temper. It's been something I've dealt with my entire life. And I've tried a lot of different things to really keep that temper in check. And one of the things that really has worked is just lifting weights. And it's embarrassing for me to admit how long it took me to give that a try. For the longest time, I didn't lift weights. I don't know why. I just didn't do it. And finally, recently, just a couple years ago, I gave that a try, and that really helped. That really helped. So I'd like to talk to him about that. And for anyone who doesn't know who Henry Rollins is, Henry Rollins was the singer. Well, he was a punk rock singer. That was where he started. His first band was a band called State of Alert. Later, he went on to sing for a band that, went a lot further, called Black Flag. And then he became a spoken word artist and writer, and he's also he's done movies and all that sort of thing too. And he still tours around the country. And he travels all around the world doing his thing. So anyway, that's Henry Rollins' story. We'll move on. Guys, before we get into other Music Monday type stuff, we have to do a follow-up on something we covered last week. Turns out that we covered a story where this dude yelled Hail Trump and Hail Hitler in a theater while Fiddler on the Roof was going on. And initial reports were just thinking this was some Trump-supporting guy, some anti-Semite. Turns out he wasn't. He was just a guy who made a really stupid decision. But we should follow up on it because the initial reports ended up to be different. And the new reports came to the surface in between the time we recorded our first segment and that I posted the clip from that segment. So, the way it works here is that, we record a stream, and then Joe, my editor with the mostest, he is YouTube's greatest editor. I'm really lucky he likes working with me. But Joe then makes the clips, and then I get the clips, and I kind of schedule them out throughout the week. I load them up, and I schedule them out, and so some of them come out the same day, some of them come out a day later, some of them come out 2 days later. Some of them that aren't time sensitive, they come out even further down the line than that. Some that are, like when I told the story about how I lost weight, for instance. I haven't published that clip yet because it is evergreen. It's not time sensitive, so that'll probably come out around the holidays when the show's on a break. You get the idea. Now I'm over-explaining it, as I tend to do. Did you know I knew Henry Rollins was traveling, and I told him? But anyway, so yeah, I scheduled that clip out, and in between when the clip came out and when we recorded it, the new information came to the surface about this guy. So it's time to do a follow-up. Some of you guys have been saying, hey, this isn't, and it's like, yeah, we're going to do a follow-up. All right, so here's the follow-up. All right, yelling Hail Trump during Fiddler on the Roof seemed like a good idea while drunk, the man says. Okay, so a man who caused panic at the Baltimore Theater by shouting that during a show of Fiddler on the Roof, he's apologizing, explaining that his outburst was ill-conceived. It was an attempt to protest Trump's immigration policies. So he was actually protesting President Trump's immigration policies. So here's what this guy says. And what this guy did, I think, was stupid. I was trying to compare Trump to Hitler because he plays into the fears of people, and it just came out wrong, Anthony Durlanis told C-Ball TV from his front porch. I realized how hurtful it was and how it came out anti-Semitic. I have no hate in me. He was drunk. So I'll just summarize this. It's not really. So the dude was drunk, and he thought he was like this was like a protest type thing. Why you think a good time to protest is in the middle of a show that you're watching. In the middle of a show that, by the way, has a message. So, I know this guy feels genuinely bad about what he did, so I don't want to, but, Mr. Delanis, you did a stupid thing, and I think you realize that. I think you learned from it. Dumb move, buddy. When's your next protest going to be? Is it going to be in the middle of an opera? Or are you going to just go stand up and be like, this reminds me? Are you going to be at a live performance of The Sound of Music and be like, you know what? The Nazis were bad, and I'm going to do this hail thing to Not the time and place. If you want to do a real protest, there are people outside camping, protesting ICE. They're camping out in the cold, protesting ICE. Maybe go join them. Maybe bring them a bottle of wine. I'm just saying. A couple people in the YouTube comments were referring to this guy as a left-wing activist. No offense to again, I know this guy's sorry. I know he knows he made a mistake. But calling this guy an activist is an insult to real activists. He is not an activist. I know a lot of activists. They do very, very noble work, and they put their body in harm's way on a regular basis. This guy ain't an activist. This is a drunk guy who thought he was doing something clever, and he wasn't. End of story. There's the follow-up. Yeah, we've already spent too much time on it as far as I'm concerned. I think the guy learned his lesson. We all make mistakes, and it's over. All right. You guys are already sending stuff in. Tim sends in some Music Monday stuff. Oh, so does Edwin. All right. Let's see here. So Edwin recommends Phaser Day's Lucky Girl. So check that out. Phaser Day is Lucky Girl. That's spelled F-A-Z-E-R-D-A-Z-E. The track is called Lucky Girl. We can't play the music because of the copyrights. But and Tim, I think Tim has a little bit of an article associated with his here. So let's see what Tim's got. I'll give it the Get Your News On with Ron retweet. I'll go ahead and give Edwin's a Get Your News On with Ron retweet too. Man, that half hour, man, I'm really feeling it. Look how slow I'm typing. Isn't it ridiculous? I know, right? Totally ridiculous. Totes ridiculous. Oh, and by the way, I want to end the show tonight, or today. Tonight. Yeah. All right. So let's see here. Tim recommends... Oh, so check this out. This Shadowproof, which I'm guessing is a zine. I'm not familiar with it, but let's check it out. Check it out. So Shadowproof, they do a protest song of the week. I wonder if they do this every week, but that's pretty cool. But their protest song of the week is Mutterer by Chuck D. And this is from his new... I don't know if this is from his newest album, or... I guess it is. Alright, so Chuck D recently released his fourth studio album, Celebration of Ignorance. The album is rooted in the classic 1980s throwback style. The lyrics are as hard-hitting as ever. He tackles subjects such as racism, toxic masculinity, gun violence, dangers of technological advances, and the hateful resident of President 45. Mutterer addresses the issue of climate change and the damage we are doing to the planet. Lyrics such as forgetting future generations going to be regretting, highlighting how future generations will suffer from the sinful, short-sighted greed of those in power. The new Chuck D album. Let's see, what's the name of the album? Mutterer is the name of that track. And what's the name of the album? Oh, Celebration of Ignorance. Yep. Sorry about that. There it is. Celebration of Ignorance. So check out the new Chuck D album. I think I'm going to go grab that. Tim, thank you for the fantastic recommendation. Chuck D is one of those people, you really celebrate. He's done a lot of great things, not just on his own, but he has helped a lot of people get into the limelight. And he's a very socially conscious guy. Everyone knows that about him. So cool. I'm going to check out the new Chuck D album. Tim, thank you for that recommendation. All right. And guys, keep sending stuff. We got we still got room for stuff. So please send stuff over on the Twitter. I'll check out the Reddit. Please do start sending stuff over. This is from David. And this is London Bridge blocked by environmental protest, and 70 have been arrested. Interesting. So this is the Extinction Rebellion protest. We've been covering this some. All right. London Bridge is blocked by environment protest and 70 have been arrested. And no, New York Times, I don't want to buy you. I'm not buying you, New York Times. I'm just going to use for free, and then I'm going to clear my browser history. And that's just how it's got to be. British police said they arrested more than 70 people at environment protests on Saturday after demonstrators blocked 5 bridges across the River Thames in central London. Organizers of the Extinction Rebellion event said they wanted to put pressure on Britain's government to take greater action to slow climate change and eliminate greenhouse gas emissions by 2025. And the protest centered for several hours on Westminster Bridge near Britain's Parliament. And there was also disruption to traffic on 4 other bridges. Hundreds of people protested near Westminster carrying banners with messages that included "Stop Climate Breakdown, Fossil Fuel Era Over," and "Rebel for Life." Right on. One moment, please. And I'm back. The Extinction campaigners are calling for emissions to be reduced to 0 on a net basis by 2025. I would love for us to get there by 2025. I don't see it happening, but I would love for us to get there by 2025. But these are there's going to be some results from this. That's the thing. First of all, other countries do have a greater desire to do things about climate change than the United States does. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. So kudos to these people that are protesting. It needs to continue. And we are going to see some positive results from this. I do have confidence in that. And this is from Hoot Hoot. Let me go ahead and give this a Get Your News On With Ron retweet. Wow. Embattled Broward election supervisor Brenda Snipes submits resignation. Brenda Snipes, Broward County's embattled supervisor of elections, submitted her resignation Sunday. Snipes' resignation, first reported by the Sun-Sentinel, came only hours after her staff ended a brutal 2-week stretch in which they misplaced 2,000 ballots during a statewide recount, mixed about 24 invalid ballots with about 200 good ones, and blew a deadline to submit machine recount results to the state. Snipes was attacked as corrupt by President Donald Trump and other Republicans, accused without evidence of trying to steal the U.S. Senate election by Governor Rick Scott, and maligned as incompetent by U.S. Senator Marco Rubio. So here's the letter. Dear Honored Governor Scott, it has been my passion and honor to serve as the supervisor of elections for Broward County voters. When I was appointed to this position on November 20th, 2003, my initial commitment was to serve out the remaining term in office and to pass the torch to the person who would be elected in the next cycle. Needless to say, that was almost 15 years ago. Although I have enjoyed this work tremendously over these many election cycles, both large and small, I'm ready to pass the torch. Therefore, I request that you accept my letter of resignation effective January 4th, 2019. You know, this really smells. This So, a quick reminder for anyone wondering who Brenda Snipes is. Brenda Snipes is the person who, first of all, has, been over the elections in that county, which, that county has been notorious since 2000. Now, of course, she was sworn in 2003. Who swore her in? Jeb Bush. Or brought her in. It was Jeb Bush who brought her in, by the way, in 2003. So you can't hold 2000 on her, but they've been notorious since 2000. They are the infamous county that screwed it up in regards to Bush and Gore. And later, Brenda Snipes is the person who destroyed ballots for Debbie Wasserman Schultz. When Debbie Wasserman Schultz won in 2016, there were ballots that were destroyed illegally. And Tim Canova did bring that to court and was victorious. Now there's shady stuff afoot this time around too. There's video footage that we showed on this show of people just randomly transporting ballots in their cars. You don't know where they're taking them. You don't know what they're doing with them. By their own admission, they were ballots. Some people are saying, well, how do we know those were ballots? Well, by their own admission, the woman in the video asked, are these ballots? They said yes. So unless they were lying to this woman for whatever reason, they were ballots that were being transferred in the car. And Brenda Snipes is the person behind all that, in charge of all that, close with Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And now all of a sudden she's resigning. It's almost like when Debbie Wasserman Schultz had to step down because the DNC cheated for Hillary Clinton. Man, I mean, it's amazing that nothing significant was done after it happened in 2000. Like, it's amazing that nothing really changed after it happened in 2000. And it still just seems so unbelievable that Tim Canova received such a small amount of the vote. Like, it just seems so, like, it doesn't make any sense. So I don't buy for 1 second that election was genuine. And the fact that she's resigning supports that notion. All of a sudden, she's resigning. All right, this is from Adam. And Adam says, do you want to talk about why this article's wrong? That's what Adam says. So apparently we're looking at a wrong article. But let's go to it, see what they're saying. Why Democrats should not call the Georgia governor's race stolen. Because voter suppression's not really a thing. Come on. There are 3 important reasons to cool this rhetoric, despite Brian Kemp's odious voter suppression. So the person acknowledged there was a bunch of voter suppression, but they're like, calm down with the rhetoric. People need civility. We need bipartisan. Okay, I wonder if that's what this is going to be. I guess I should read the article before I jump to conclusions. But look, based on this, there are 3 reasons to cool this rhetoric, despite Brian Kemp's odious voter suppression efforts. I know voter suppression's bad, but guys, we need to talk nice. Good job, Richard. All right, many Democrats are understandably angry about efforts to suppress the vote in Georgia and elsewhere in the 2018 midterm. They're understandably angry. This article sucks, by the way. In the Peach State, there is no question that Governor-elect Brian Kemp, while Secretary of State, made it harder for minority and other voters to register and vote through a combination of deliberate efforts and all right. So, basically, yeah, there was a ton of voter suppression. But for 3 reasons, Democrats should stop with the rhetoric that the race was stolen, as Sherrod Brown, an Ohio Democrat, has said, and they should follow the lead of Kemp's Democratic opponent Stacey Abrams, who has repeatedly refused to acknowledge Kemp as the legitimate winner. And they should not follow the lead of Kemp's Democratic opponent Stacey Abrams, who stood up for democracy. That's not what the article says. That's my addition. Who repeatedly refused to. Okay. Oh, yeah. Well, she was questioned by CNN's Jake Tapper. Good journalist. Pfft. First, rhetoric about stolen elections feeds a growing cycle of mistrust and delegitimization of the election process. That's because it's deserved. An attack pushed by President Trump. Oh, so because Trump feels that way, that means if you feel that way, you're going along with Trump. Really? It's not because our elections are completely morally bankrupt. It's not because our elections are not genuine. It's not because our elections have gerrymandering and voter suppression and the Electoral College and superdelegates and voter purges. It's not because that goes on all the time. Rhetoric about stolen elections feeds a growing cycle of mistrust. Yeah, because there should be mistrust. Guys, this really grows the feeding mistrust of liars and cheaters. And we really need to create a climate where we just blindly trust these liars and cheaters. How is this guy Richard? This is pathetic, Richard. Wow, Adam was right. This article is terrible. Second, the rhetoric about a stolen election is unproven. Although Hillary Clinton declared that if Abrams had a fair election, she would have won. We don't know. Oh, so if Hillary Clinton said it. Wow, this guy is terrible. You know, we'll never know that if cheaters wouldn't have won or not because they cheated and that's just the way it is. We'll never know if a valid process would have given us different results because they cheated and that's just the way it is. We don't know if they could have won without voter suppression, but they had voter suppression and they won, so we can't really argue. Richard's the kind of guy that if he was in a prison cell and prisoners revolted and they broke down the door and they were like, let's run to freedom, Richard would stay behind. Richard would stay behind him. He'd be like, you know, the food's not that bad. We're going to make the masters angry. We probably shouldn't break out of this prison. All right, so let's see Richard's third shitty reason. Here's a butt. I don't know why. This is a dude's butt. It's at the bottom here. This is where Richard's article came out of, actually. It just got shit out of here. This article sucks. I'm sorry. I don't know anything about this writer, but this article is freaking terrible. Where's the third reason? I can't read this whole thing because I haven't even had breakfast yet. Oh, okay, here we go. This ties in with the third and final problem I see with the stolen election rhetoric. It focuses attention on the wrong question, whether there was enough suppression to change election outcomes. As I've long argued, the right question is why the state gets to put stumbling blocks in front of voters. How do you not see the connection between those two? What are you talking about? The question isn't why do they suppress votes. The question is why are they able to? Well, gee, maybe if we call out the fact that we're doing it, we can start making them not be able to do it. What are you talking about, Richard? Richard, what made you think publishing this was a good idea? This guy's a professor. Richard, this guy is a professor. Does he... Wow, Richard, how much is your department stifling you in order for you to get tenure? Did you have a deadline that you had to make that you thought, how are you a professor? The fact that people like you are professors is why people like me, A, leave academia, and B, don't have much confidence in it. You are light years away from Noam Chomsky or Todd Gitlin or Janet Lyon or any other radical academic worth of salt. You make milquetoast seem edgy, Richard Hasen. Wow. That's the dumbest stuff. You know, the question shouldn't be why are they suppressing the vote. The question is why are they able to suppress? What are you talking about? How many mimosas does one have to drink for that to make any sense, Richard? Richard, please just stop. Please, just what are you doing? You're teaching this to children, by the way. To students. I shouldn't say children. Students. What a shitty article. Richard Hasen. Wow. This guy's a professor. And he writes this article. We got to tone down the rhetoric of voter suppression What are these three? Here, wait. What are these three shitty reasons? I actually forgot the first two because they're so dumb. It's a growing... Oh, yeah, you're mistrusting the cheaters. We have to stop it because you're mistrusting the cheaters. We should just blindly trust cheaters. Second, it's not proven. We don't know if they could have won or not without cheating, but they had cheating and they won. So we just shouldn't ask questions. Oh, and the third problem is, let's not ask why they do this. Let's ask why they're able to. Richard, wow, that's... Are the Koch brothers in charge of whether or not you get tenure, Richard? Just tell us. Is that who's writing the checks at your institution? And that's who determines whether or not you get tenure? That's why you're writing this substanceless, spineless garbage? Wow. You do not need to be a law professor to see that this is garbage. You really don't. Shame on you, Richard. Because I know that you know better. You know better. And you're still writing this garbage. And you're welcome to come on my show and defend this article anytime. You know where I stand right away. It's garbage. So, yeah, Adam, thank you for sharing that. And you were right. This article is, in fact, grossly wrong. Uppity Bumpkin sends us an update. White House tells Jim Acosta his suspension may be permanent after restraining order expires. Oh, man. He can't do any of that hard-hitting journalism that he's never done. The Trump administration plans to again revoke CNN correspondent Jim Acosta's White House press credentials after a restraining order imposed Friday by a federal judge expires, CNN reported late Sunday. Members of the MIC resistance everywhere will pretend that this is actually a struggle for press freedom, while they're ignoring Julian Assange, a guy who has just published the truth and now is literally trying, the state is literally trying to execute the man. But instead, we're focusing on this shouting match between Donald Trump and Jim Acosta, which actually wasn't even much of a shouting match. This is just political theater between two rich people that are mad at each other. And this is just a political stunt on all sides. The White House pulled Acosta press credentials after a November 7th news conference, during which President Trump called the reporter a rude, terrible person when Acosta persisted in asking Trump a question about Russia. In response, CNN filed a lawsuit. USA Today backed it up. So did Fox News, demanding the return of his credentials. I'm getting tired just by reciting this political theater bullshit. Speaking of political theater bullshit, here's another expert, Adam Schiff. He got in a little thing with Donald Trump where Donald Trump called him Adam Shit. And you know what I said about that whole thing? I said, look, when it comes to Donald Trump versus Adam Schiff, I don't like corporatist, opportunist parasites posing as show business wannabes. And Donald Trump's pretty awful too. Adam Schiff is terrible. Donald Trump is even more terrible. You don't have to pick between them. You can acknowledge there's no good guys in this scenario, that this is just political theater and it's just garbage. Adam Schiff desperately wishes he was in show business. He loves that Trump-Russia has given him his 15 minutes of fame. He stands for absolutely nothing. He doesn't do anything in regards to better policy here in California. He does nothing for his district. He is just an opportunist parasite. Donald Trump is no different. You don't need to pick between them. You don't. You don't need to make it out like Jim Acosta is actually... Jim Acosta is not some hard-hitting journalist. Jim Acosta loves access. He is part of access journalism. He is a blank suit. The headline should have been, when the White House told all the reporters to turn off their cameras, and they all did. The headline shouldn't have been, look at the White House being mean to these reporters. The headline should have been, every reporter in that room should be fired. Because authority told them to turn off their cameras, and they did. They're not journalists. They're fake. That's why there's people that watch this show that expect a comedian who does a live streaming show where people send him articles and write comics about his talking cat. People expect that guy to have higher standards than actual journalists do. Because journalism is so far in the shitter. That's how bad it is. Jim Acosta's not a good guy. Trump's not a good guy. There are no good guys. It's theater. It's a game. It's a scam. And if you give a shit whether or not Jim Acosta gets this credential back, you're worrying about the wrong issue. You should be worried about Julian Assange. They're trying to execute Julian Assange. They are literally trying to execute this man. He is sick and he needs help. He hasn't had sunlight in years. He's cooped up in an embassy. They are literally trying to kill this guy. And he's guilty of the crime of journalism. That's what he's done. He's done journalism. Never had to retract a story. That's a press freedom story, not Jim Acosta and his bullshit shouting match with Trump where they got mad at each other. Who gives a shit? At the end of the day, they're both concerned with access. At the end of the day, they love Trump because he helps their ratings, and Trump loves the media because he can play him like a fiddle. The battle between Trump and the media is not a story of struggle. It is a love story disguised in political theater. So I don't give a shit what happens with Jim Acosta's pass. I don't give a shit what happens between him and Trump. It's all theater, and you don't have to pick a bad guy. You don't have to do it. All right, we only have a few more minutes here, and then I'm going to go. We do have to end early. I know that, well, we started early, so we're, of course, ending early. All And since we brought up Julian Assange, someone posted something about him. Alright, so this is from the World Socialist website. Defend Julian Assange against U.S. charges. A court document dated August 22nd was made public Thursday night, which confirms that the U.S. Department of Justice is in possession of sealed criminal charges against WikiLeaks founder and publisher Julian Assange. As soon as he is forced out of the Ecuadorian embassy in London, where he sought political asylum in 2012 and is now being denied any right to communicate with the outside world by the Ecuadorian government, a warrant will be issued for his extradition to the United States. The court document, which related to a case that had no remote connection to Assange, contained 2 paragraphs that named him. It stated that the sealing of an indictment was necessary because no other procedure is likely to keep confidential the fact that he's being charged. It requested that the charges remain sealed. Regardless of how the existence of charges has been revealed, it confirms all the warnings that Assange and his legal and political defenders have made since Swedish prosecutors issued an arrest warrant against him in November 2010 to purportedly answer questions over allegations he had committed sexual offenses. The Swedish allegations were fabricated against Assange under condition in which WikiLeaks had published explosive leaks that exposed U.S. war crimes. Alright, so they go on to talk about that. They go on to talk about how he upset a lot of people during the 2016 election because he published stuff that made Clinton look bad. Alright, this is kind of stuff we've already talked about on the show, a lot of this, but they even point out that Jeremy Corbyn hasn't been vocal on this. And here's kind of the summary of it. Most strikingly, however, has been the abandonment of Assange by virtually all the middle-class pseudo-left organizations in the U.S., Australia, Britain, and around the world. flowing from their support for gender and race-based identity politics and for the imperialist intrigues in Ukraine and Syria, which Assange opposed and exposed, they either maintain a complete silence on his persecution or have joined in slandering him as a stooge for Trump or Russia, even as Trump's administration has stepped up to the U.S. effort to silence him. Yeah, it's a modern-day execution attempt. I mean, that's really what's going on here. It's crazy, especially, Thanksgiving week. It's crazy to think that something like this is happening in our world. I mean, it's... I mean, they're trying to kill this guy. I mean, that's what they're doing. And he published documents. He published documents that he felt the public ought to know about. WikiLeaks has never had to retract a document, so it's not like they're spreading false information. They've been accused of it, and they were wrong. The people accusing them were wrong. So, I mean, I've participated in some of the visuals for the guy, and it's, it's one of those situations where you really feel powerless, because what can you do? I mean, they are trying to just force this guy out by denying him health care that he needs, by denying him sunlight, by denying him communication with the outside world. I heard recently he was able to have visitors again, but it's a dire situation, and it's we will look back on this as a very, very dark stain on our behavior as a species. We will look back on this as, when humanity scapegoated a journalist to the point of keeping him in solitary for years. And I hope the ending is happy. I hope the ending is just. I don't know if it will be or not. None of us know. But all I can say is I hope so. Let's go to the chat and try to end on something a little more uplifting. We are out of time as far as the articles go, but I wanted to talk to you guys. Thank you guys for being here early, by the way. We're a little lower than usual numbers-wise, but not much, so I appreciate you guys being able to alter your days. So, let me ask you guys this question. What are some of y'all's plans for the holiday, the Thanksgiving holiday? I'm curious to know what you're up for. Oh, Daniel, did you miss the Henry Rollins story? I started with the Henry Rollins story. You missed it. You must have missed it. I started with it. We had to start early today, and if you missed that, I explained we had to start early today because this is our last episode for the week because it's a holiday week. I'm flying to Pittsburgh tomorrow to see my folks. That's why we're not having any episodes. But I didn't want to cancel today's episode, so I had to start it early. Frederick, I tweeted it and I Facebooked it. I found out very last minute that I had to switch the time. I was like, I either need to, not do an episode or I need to push it back a little bit just for today. So I apologize, guys. But some of you guys missed the beginning where we did talk about, the. And Joseph's is going to be baking some pies. That's awesome, Joe. Lady, you got a birthday coming up. Happy birthday. Tim, my wife and I are doing orphan Thanksgiving. I don't know what that means, but explain it to me. What does that mean? Let's see. Jenna, I'm going to see Ron Placone in Pittsburgh. That's awesome, Jenna. I will see you there, and I can't wait. Statutory grape. I'm going to be introducing my girlfriend to my family for Thanksgiving. Nervous as hell. I'm in a similar situation, Statutory. I am going to be... a lot of my family is going to be meeting my fiance for the first time. So I'm in a similar situation to you. Now, my parents have already met her. My sister's already met her. A lot of my immediate family has already met her, but my extended family is going to be meeting her for the first time. Amar says, get your news on with Ron's parents. I'll be doing that. Steve has got some gigs going on Tuesday and Friday. Check Steve out if you're in Ontario. Wow. San Antonio. I said Ontario. What the fuck? Steve is in San Antonio. If you're in San Antonio, check out his gigs. Video Game gives a shout out for Extinction Rebellion. They are protesting climate change. They are going to see some results. They're over in the UK doing their thing. Garden Gnome says, I'm a decent cook, but I can't bake a damn turkey. Mike says, that's why ham is a much better option. Moss is going to Japan. That's freaking cool. Yeah. Xander, Romplicone, can you cover the story of Kansas City officials pouring bleach on food for the home? Oh, God. Not right now, but yeah, let's cover that in the future. Please tweet me something when we're back next week. So, guys, some housekeeping here before we sign out. We are not going to be starting early all the time, first of all. I know if anyone not... We had to start at 9:30 today. I tweeted it last night, and I tweeted it again this morning, and I posted it on the Facebook. We had to start early today because of my schedule before getting out of town. I had a lot of stuff that I couldn't alter the times on, so we had to start a little bit early today. That's why we started early. But from now on, all the time, it's at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, unless otherwise noted. And those otherwise noted things are very rare, but we did have to have it today. So that's why we started early. And it is holiday week. It is a holiday week. I am flying out tomorrow morning to go to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, my hometown. So this is our last episode for the week. So we will be off the rest of the week. I will be posting clips every day, though, so please keep an eye on the channel. Clips will be coming out. And that's our update for the week. No more episodes this week because I'm going to be out of town for the I'm going to be out of town for Thanksgiving. I'm going to be in Pittsburgh. And shout out to everyone who I'm going to see in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, November 23rd. So I'll do the housekeeping now. November 23rd, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Tickets are still available, but they are selling, and I'm thrilled about it. We still got some available, but grab them quick. I have a feeling that show's going to sell out, and I'm so excited to report that. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, November 23rd. Still some tickets available, but if you haven't gotten them and you want to, get them now. November 29th, Los Angeles, my album release party. Free parking and free cake. Drop me an email. I'll throw you on the guest list for that. Romplicone.com. Drop me an email. I'll get you on the guest list for that show, Los Angeles. I want to see you November 29th. And I want to see some Get Your News On with Ron folks. Guys, January 9th, Gainesville. January 10th, Coral Gables. January 11th, Orlando. January 12th, Jacksonville. The Progressive Comedy Tour's coming. Get your tickets now. They're available. March 12th, Pensacola, Florida. Tickets for that available now. March 13th, New Orleans, Louisiana. That show is confirmed, but tickets are not quite available yet. They will be available very soon. And April 12th, just confirmed, Dallas, Texas. Well, wait, Fort Worth. Sorry, I know you got a... Fort Worth, Texas. April 12th, Fort Worth, Texas. Tickets available now. The Progressive Comedy Tour is coming to Texas. We're going to be coming back to Austin. Well, Graham will be there but for me, I was just in Austin. But I'll be coming back to Austin in April. We'll also be looking to come to Houston. So keep an eye out for Texas dates. And if you want to support this show on the sustainability end and you are so able, patreon.com/Romplicone. For Give What You Can level, you get all kinds of perks, including my album. Agnostic Holiday is out now. You can grab it over at iTunes. You can grab it over on my Twitter. Agnostic Holiday is out now. But if you're a patron, you get it. You're able to download it. It's just right there for you. Please do consider it. Guys, have a wonderful, wonderful holiday. Try to avoid arguments with your family. It's just not worth it. Just let it... These days, whenever like, so what do you think about the state of affairs? I just walk away. I walk into another room. I just walk. My family's relatively progressive too, and I still feel that way. But yeah, please try to avoid arguments with your family. It's not worth it. It's just not worth the headache on your end. You know, I'm looking out for you. But, you know, if you enjoy those kind of conversations, do it. I'll be having those conversations. I usually get in an argument with someone in my family. Again, because my family's relatively progressive. So, like, we see more eye to eye than we don't. So, we just argue over the nitty-gritty of it all. And that's just what we do. But yeah. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Happy holidays. I will see you next week. I can't wait to see you next week. In the meantime, clips will be coming out. Thank you for, since we're doing a Thanksgiving thing, thank you very much for allowing me to do this show. Because without you, we wouldn't have a show. I need you guys to do this show. It wouldn't be Get Your News On with Ron. It would just be like, hey, Ron's like sitting here and no one's sending him anything. It'd be pretty lame. So thank you guys for being here and for letting me do this show. I enjoy this show very much, and it would not be possible without you. So thank you for helping me launch Get Your News On with Ron. We're still a new show. We're like 6 months old. We're still new and we're growing, and we wouldn't be growing if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you very, very much. Have an absolutely wonderful Thanksgiving, and I will see you guys on the stream next week. We'll be back Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern, back to our normal time on Monday, and I will see you all then. Peace.